107.5, number one for R&B, wbls. Coming to you live from the studios of 107.5 WBLS. This is Open Line. We want to hear what's on your mind. Call us at 212-545-1075 or email us at openlinefm@aol.com.
And a good morning to you all on this Sunday morning, August 22nd, and welcome to Open Line on your information station, 107.5 WBLS FM. I'm your host, Fatim Muhammad, and joining me is my co-host every Sunday morning here on Open Line is the multi-talented Jennifer Jones Austin Esquire, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the Federation of Protestant Welfare Agency. Good morning, my good sister Jennifer Jones Austin. How are you doing this morning?
I'm waking up. I'm still waking up. Good morning, but I had a late night. I flew in from California last night, and the flight wasn't a problem. Getting home was a bit of a challenge from the airport. Uber surcharging was out of control, and then I came home to a little flooding in the basement. So let's just say it's been a long night and an early morning. But all is good.
That's good. I must say, normally, I open up with the weather, but you know what? The weather is one of our top stories this morning, so I decided to bring you in on this, and we'll talk a little bit about Brooklyn. I was in Brooklyn last night, and when the skies opened up, I thought Moses was parting the Red Sea. I mean, rain came down, lightning, thunder. Brooklyn got hit with the largest rainfall. I'll give those numbers out in a minute. Folks, just let me let you know what we're going to talk about. There's a lot of news out here today, including now tropical storm Henri. It was a hurricane at 75 miles per hour. It was downgraded early this morning to a tropical storm, but it can wobble right back. It's just downgraded due to the fact of the 70 mile per hour sustained wind in the center. But if it goes back up to 75, it can be a Cat 1 hurricane to a direct hit somewhere between Southampton, Long Island, and Rhode Island and Connecticut. So New York, in a sense, we didn't dodge the bullet from rain and wind, but we dodged the bullet from a direct hit from a Cat 1 storm. And let's talk a little bit about that, Sister Jennifer, and let me update folks here. With the center of the storm projected to pass just off of the eastern tip of Long Island by midday today. Hurricane warnings extended from coastal Connecticut and Rhode Island to near Old Whaling Port of New Bedford, Massachusetts, and across oceanfront estates of New York Hamptons to the summer getaway of Fire Island. The first thunderstorms brought in Brooklyn 6.32 inches. Prospect Park 5.24 inches. Central Park 4.45 inches. Jersey City 3.64. Hoboken 3.05 and Caldwell 2.48. Some people in New Jersey were stranded in their cars. There was flooding on the roadway. I was on the Van Wyck, flooding on the Belt Parkway, flooding last night. I came in last night about 11 o'clock and decided to stay at the radio station due to the fact I did not know what the weather is going to be like this morning. People in the projected past spent Saturday scrambling to stock up on groceries and gasoline. The gas stations were filled last night. Those close to the coast boarded up windows and, in some cases, evacuated. Residents and visitors on Fire Island, a narrow strip of sandy villages barely above sea level off of Long Island's Christie Perverse planned Fire Island, evacuated. Approaching severe weather Saturday night also cut short a superstar-laden concert in Central Park. The show was headlined by Bruce Springsteen, Paul Simon, and Jennifer Hudson. was meant to celebrate New York City's recovery from the coronavirus, but officials asked concert goers to leave the park during the Barry Manilow set and the threat of lightning. Governor Andrew Cuomo set to leave office Monday after resigning after sexual harassment scandal emerged Saturday to plead with New York residents to make last-minute preparations, warning that heavy rain, wind, and storm surge from Henri could be as devastating as Superstorm Sandy back in 2012. I don't know if you remember Hurricane Gloria 1985. I was in that storm. I went to work. I was working at Billboard magazine at that particular time, Sister Jennifer, and I was living one block from you on Midwood Street. And I remember taking my umbrella and walking up to the Lincoln Road train station. And that umbrella went in the garbage can. Didn't make sense. Couldn't do it. Just could not deal with that. Wind and rain and everything. This is nothing to play with, folks. Wind and rain. They expect power outages on Long Island, and this is what's hitting people. They're saying expect some power to be out for 7 to 10 days. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, I'm going to tell you that when you said that Brooklyn experienced the greatest accumulation of rain increase, I can attest to that because when I came home, I saw that the drains outside of my house were, like flooded, and I guess it seemed they weren't working properly. Had about 4 inches that just appeared to be collecting. And what I realized is that it wasn't the drains weren't working properly. Rather, it was the fact that the wells were filling up. There was so much water that had been collected that it was hard to drain, as quickly as it otherwise would. I don't remember Hurricane Gloria. I'd like to think it's because I'm just a lot younger. That's not really the case. It's because I think I was out of the city and living in D.C. at that time in 1985. But I do remember Superstorm Sandy. And, what damage it wreaked upon New York City, and especially, the public transportation. And we saw last night that some of the train stations around the city were flooded. And, when it gets that bad, it's not just a storm. It has cumulative impact. Significant impact on us because we got to get out. We use the subways for work and the buses and the like. And so this is nothing to play with, one, from a physical and harm vantage point, but then it also can affect us just in our everyday goings and comings in our lives.
Let's update our folks here at Media Co. with our sister station, Hot 97, having their big day. And we are a family. We are a team here of Hot 97 and WBLS. The Summer Jam is taking place at MetLife Stadium this evening, but we do have an update. So let me give this update as of 8 a.m. due to reports of the adverse approaching the MetLife Stadium area. And in order to prioritize the safety of our audience, parents, and staff, we have made the decision to cancel the Summer Jam Festival stage and Festival Village only. As of Saturday evening, we anticipate the stadium stage will proceed as planned with its full lineup commencing at 6:30, doors open at 5 p.m. So again, the Summer Jam Festival stage and Festival Village only has been canceled. But as of this evening, they expect doors opening at 5 and the show to commence at 6:30. Attendees should pay attention to their local weather advisory and exercise caution while traveling. All right, so I want to put that information because a lot of people have, questions about that. Summer Jam is a big event, so again, I spoke with last night someone close to Governor Phil Murphy, and as of last night, I was trying to find out if New Jersey was going to call a state of emergency, And as of last night, when I was speaking with my contact, he said, no, we didn't think that New Jersey will get some rain. They got rain last night, but they feel that the brunt of the storm will be more north and east of them.
So, yeah. I want to give a quick shout out to my niece, Natalia, man, who's here at our home with us, and just a phenomenal young woman. Brings it every day in the corporate world. But this young lady, we talk a lot about how these young people just, they stay on the internet and social media and what have you. She figured out a way to get me from JFK, transportation-wise, when I could not get anything out of JFK. And then when I got to our home, she was here doing the work of essentially making sure that we didn't have a flood situation that was worse than it already was. So I just need to give a shout out to that young woman doing her thing in the workplace, on social media, and in the home. Phenomenal woman.
There you go. Let me let folks know that we're opening up the phones this morning. We're going to turn it over to you. We did not know where we would be with, as of yesterday, hurricane, now a tropical storm, Henri. And we decided that we'll open up the phones. Normally, I try to do this more around the holiday time. But we got a big march coming up next week in Washington, D.C., dealing with voting rights. Reverend Sharpton will be following this show to talk and give more updates about that. Jennifer, you said that you will be there. I will be also present at this march next Saturday in Washington, D.C. It's a lot to talk about. So we're going to open up, have an open forum. You can give us a call at 212-545-1075, 212-545-1075. And one of the first things is I want to send out prayers to Reverend Jesse Jackson and his wife, Jacqueline Jackson, who both have been hospitalized after testing positive for COVID-19. Reverend Jesse Jackson was fully vaccinated and came down with some symptoms, and his wife, and they're a little older now, so precautionary for them to be hospitalized. I reached out to Jonathan Jackson, one of the sons, last night. He picked right up. And he gave me an update saying that his father and mother were resting comfortable and they were doing better. So that was good news as of last night. So I just wanted to say that.
I send my prayers too. When I landed last night, I saw that there was a post on Facebook from one of his sons, from Jesse, saying, pray for my family. And I had seen the news. And so I quickly learned what was happening and am deep in prayer for his family members and others who got COVID. And I just quickly want to say something about this vaccine. Reverend Jackson was vaccinated, and people saw that he was vaccinated. And now he's come down with COVID. And what we have to be careful about is some people say, well, then why get vaccinated in the first place? What the research is showing, and they're getting more and more research that speaks to the vaccine's effectiveness against the Delta variant. And what they're finding is that it is not foolproof. There may be breakthroughs, and there have been breakthroughs. But what the vaccine does have to do is to control against the most severe infection, and in many instances, hospitalization and death from COVID. So let's not just say, okay, well then let's not do the vaccine because people are still getting it, COVID, after they've been vaccinated. No, in some ways it's like the flu. You may get the vaccine, but it controls against the most severe complications in many instances. Exactly. That's not necessarily all, but in many.
There you go. And, last this past Wednesday night on the Open Line online midweek version, we had Dr. Stella Sappho on, and matter of fact, she stayed overtime. We went from 8 till 10:30, and she came on after 9, and she really did a fabulous job of giving out information. That's one of the things that we continue to do, to give out information surrounding the vaccine, the COVID, the variants, the Delta variant. This is something that is not going away right now, and we have to make sure that we stay up on this. There's still a lot of questions out there. Folks still have questions, and we try to bring answers to you from medical professionals when it comes to this. Jennifer, I want to pop for People's Organization for Progress. He sent out a text last night, and it caught my eye, to our group. He said, everything is suddenly so uncertain. Weather, war, COVID, President Biden, Haiti, economy, democracy, voting rights. The superpower doesn't feel so super. Nothing is solid and predictable. I hate to put on my reverend hat today, but I went to Revelation and King James Version and chapter 18. And it talks about the fall of Babylon the Great. It says, after these things, I saw another angel coming down from heaven, having great authority, and the earth was illuminated with his glory. And he cried mighty with a loud voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and has become a dwelling place of demons, a prison for every foul spirit, and a cage for every unclean and hated bird. For all the nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. Kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth have become rich through the abundance of her luxury. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, people, lest you share in her sin, and lest you receive of her plagues. For her sins have reached to heaven, and God has remembered her iniquities. And it just made me think about so much that is going on. You got wildfires on the West Coast burning 22,000 to 23,000 acres. Do people know that would engulf New York City?
Yeah.
Let's talk, and we see Afghanistan in the news. We'll get there in a minute. Let's talk about Haiti, which is not in the news. Not in the news the way it should be. Desperate residents who lost their homes and livelihoods nearly a week ago in Haiti's earthquake are fighting over what little aid has been delivered. Angered by the slow trickle of relief and the lack of government help. By Friday, aid was flowing bit by bit to Haiti, one of the areas in the southern peninsula of Haiti that was worst hit by the earthquake. But the limited supplies only raised tension among increasingly desperate residents. It seems like the world has turned their back on the Haiti and the Haitian people.
Yeah. Yeah, as you were talking about, what I'm thinking about is what's the one constant theme in this? And, the thread that ties it all together. And I just can't help to think that it's, love and concern for our fellow brethren, which is what, if we want to center on the Lord, that's what the Lord is teaching. Love and care and concern for our fellow brethren. And so if you look at Afghanistan, if you look at Haiti, if you look at COVID-19, if you look at the raging fires, if you turn to and center on, like all of the despair in this nation, homelessness, mental health, poverty, it's all centered on love and concern for our brethren. And so I think in these moments that while things may seem most uncertain, what is certain is the love of Christ and the love of God and and the will of God, and saying to that, I can't control everything. I also think about suffering, and I think about the fact that we learn that if we are to if we are to be Christ-like, then we in my Christian faith, others have other faiths, but this is me in my Christian faith, that if we are to be like Christ, then we are going to suffer. And lastly, there's no testimony without a test. So I don't know if we are in the day of revelation. I don't know what this is. I'm not going to try to guesstimate and speculate too much. I'm just going to center on what I believe that I'm supposed to be doing, which is loving, fixing up, and serving. As is the FCBC Michael Wallen, First Corinthian Baptist Church model, love, lift, and serve, right? I think that's what it is, but holding true to what I believe we're supposed to be here to do.
Right. And Americans, are resilient, but right now there's a lot of problems. Racism is here. We're fighting for voting rights. We're talking about Haiti. We're talking about Afghanistan. Some folks are saying, we pray for those over there, but we have our own problems here. The trillion dollars that was sent and spent on a 20-year war, $2 trillion spent on a 20-year war in Afghanistan, where people look now and say, was it even worth it? And then they look here, we're looking at voting rights, we're looking at so many things that are not, the infrastructure here in America is not doing well. Let's talk a little bit about Afghanistan. Then we're going to turn it to the phones. The British military reported yesterday a panic crush of people trying to enter Kabul's international airport killed 7 Afghan civilians in the crowd. The death come as a new perceived threat from the Islamic State group affiliated in Afghanistan has seen United States military planes do rapid diving combat landings at the airport surrounded by Taliban fighters. And then Friday, this past Friday, President Biden spoke. And one of the things that he said was that he wasn't hearing of any chaos on the ground. And that, just looking and hearing from the media, that's not what was reported. And then hours later, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin told lawmakers that Americans trying to leave Afghanistan have been beaten by Taliban fighters. And this is according to several people who participated in brief callings with Austin and other top officials. Austin's remarks to House members appear to directly contradict President Joe Biden's assessment from minutes earlier, not hours earlier, minutes earlier, in which Biden said the United States was not aware of Americans having trouble getting through Taliban checkpoints to the airport in Kabul. My thing is, I don't care who's in the presidency. Be transparent and tell the truth. This Afghanistan withdrawal is a horrific situation. It could have been done better. And now you have Americans, you have folks that have helped the Americans for over 20 years stuck in Afghanistan. And I hate to say this, Mr. Jennifer, and I don't know if Congress will approve for it, but people are saying that the United States and other forces are going to have to extend. They're going to have to extend out from the airport to secure and get Americans out of Afghanistan. Because if not, there's going to be more than beaten. It's going to be bloodshed.
Yeah, I was just a baby during the years of the Vietnam War, but in some ways, it rings true. Like, did we not learn from that experience? But at the end of the day, we know that it often all comes down to what is in the best interest of America, as perceived or as informed by those powers that be down in Washington, D.C. And so we don't know all of the particulars about what went into this decision making, but I'm sure it had a lot to do with what is in the best interest, according to the powers that be of America, and not necessarily Afghanistan, and not necessarily the Americans who are on the ground in Afghanistan. It's just that's how this country has operated for many, many, many centuries, and how it continues to operate.
Now let's turn our focus right here. Now, in our backyard, in here is gun violence is still going on. A popular producer working with Ice-T. I first saw the post by a good friend who's a former lieutenant in the police department, Corey Piguez. He put up there on Facebook sending prayers and, condolences of this young brother who's up and coming producer was shot and killed the other day. We're still seeing that. We also heard from New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio this week, where he said that there will not be here in the New York City public school system any remote option, and that there will be a mask mandate. He did meet with the incoming governor, Kathy Hochul, this past week, and she's also talking about a mask mandate in not only in the city of New York, but in the state of New York moving forward. So we'll see with how that is going to take place. We'll probably reach out to New York City Public School Chancellor in the upcoming weeks. It's just a lot. And then the voting rights situation is taking place. Can you give us a brief update real quick? The House is with a proposal of honestly restoring what was gutted, by the Supreme Court. Can you update our audience before we go to the phones or take a quick break?
Very quickly. So the John Lewis bill, the voting rights bill, essentially would restore the protections against states and counties gutting, or I should say, passing laws that allow for discrimination against minorities, persons of color when it comes to voting, setting up voting activities and not allowing for absentee voting, closing down polls, redistricting, gerrymandering, and all of that back in 2013 gutted the provision of the Voting Rights Act that provided those protections. And the John Lewis bill was put back in. The thing to make note of, though, is that nothing has happened yet. And don't wait on Congress to act. Don't think that they've got it now. Get down there on Saturday, August 28th, with your mask. Try to be vaccinated, get your first dose if you can, and come down and march with us, because Congress needs to see that Americans do not want them to sleep on the gutting of our voting rights. We need to be down there.
There you go. Well, folks, let me just say this real quick. We have Tropical Storm Henri has not come ashore yet. We expect wind and rain in the tri-state area. So please listen to your weather forecast, local officials out there. This is nothing to play with out here. What we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to turn over to you, our guests for the day, our listening audience. You're listening to Open Line right here on 107.5 WBLS. We'll be right back after these messages.
You know, when you're sitting at your desk with back pain and the bra you're wearing is leaving battle scars. I had dark marks on my shoulders and a line on my back I was sure would never go away. That's when I took that step to stop the back pain and got a breast reduction. Now, when I asked Dr. Levine and he said I was a candidate, I wasn't sure if that was really the source of the pain. But guess what? I had the breast reduction and the pain is gone. If you'd like to call Dr. Levine, 1-800-683-LIPO and stop the pain, stop the suffering. 1-800-683-5476. I also spoke to one of Dr. Levine's patients. She got a tummy tuck, and it was the best decision she made, she said, because it was not about looking thinner. She wanted her body to look sculpted. She needed to go to these weddings and special events looking like the brick house she is meant to be. Body sculpting, breast reduction, lipo, breast augmentation. He does it all. I'm glad I got to meet Dr. Levine, and he's waiting to meet you. Call him, 1-800-683-5476, or take a look on his website, nyclipo.com. Are we ready for the 5:30 pickup?
Cam's Courier Service's newest hire delivered his resignation.
Hey,
She now needs next day shipping on a new driver.
all these boxes here, are they ingoing or are they outgoing?
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. With Indeed Instant Match, we immediately show you quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed meet your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
I absolutely love my dog, but the constant shedding, not so much. But then I got a Swiffer Super Pet Kit, and it is amazing. These super thick cloths pick up a crazy amount of hair. Just look at all that. And that was from just one swipe. And the best part,
Sweeper's so much easier to maneuver than a broom or a vacuum, easily getting around chairs and under the couch. You're right. Now I can focus on you, not your shedding. Swiffer Sweeper Pet Kit, because shed happens.
Howdy, the streamer here. You know, there's a place down yonder where 3 streams converge into one. It's where I saw the Mandalorian get himself into a space ball. Watch me some UFC. Those folks from Modern Family have me cackling like a trout getting tickled. But that's the Disney bundle for you. It lets you stream Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN Plus for only $13.99 a month. The Disney bundle. It's streaming at its best. Includes Hulu ad-supported plan. Access content for each service separately. Terms apply. Visit thedisneybundle.com for details.
Bet on season sports book app is up to $5,000 risk-free, people. So much about the idea that on being too wonderful and magnificent. I don't care how awesome this makes me. I'm doing this for the people. So just download the app, and that first bet is up to $5,000 risk-free. Caesar made an app for the people.
Must be 21. Offer valid in New Jersey only for new players. Paid in bet credits. Terms and conditions apply. See Caesars.com/promos. If you or someone you know have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
At Metro by T-Mobile, we don't think you should pay extra for unlimited 5G. Introducing the big 5G upgrade. Experience 5G speed at no extra cost. Get your overpriced connection with Boost and Cricket and save half off their top plans when you switch to Metro, the leader in prepaid. Get 1 line of unlimited smartphone data for just $25 a month, with 5G access included at no extra cost. Plus, get a free Samsung Galaxy 5G with trade-in, all with the power of the T-Mobile 5G network. Rule your day with unlimited high-speed data and a free 5G phone. Only at Metro. Limited time and store only. If congestion gates greater than 35 GB per month, there's lower speeds, and Metro customers know slower speed versus T-Mobile B2B prioritization. Leader based on prepaid subs June 2021. Save half based on 1 line Boost and Cricket unlimited plans. See store for details.
This is Reverend Al Sharpton. Our voting rights are under attack. They're blocking bills to protect our voting rights. Knowing that if we exercise our vote, we will elect people that will deliver the things we want and need. Join Martin Luther King III, Andre King, March On, and I for the National March to protect our votes. Saturday, August 28th in Washington, D.C. Go to nationalactionnetwork.net to register. Meet us in Washington. They cannot take our votes and our rights suspended.
Selena pops in. She wears an apron too.
Welcome back to Open Line right here on 107.5 WBLS. With Brother Fatih Muhammad and Jennifer Jones. Austin, to reach the Open Line, give us a call at 212-545-1075. You can reach us on Facebook or Twitter by going to WBLS 107 NYC. And we're streaming live at WBLS.com. A couple of quick announcements coming up here. Special shout out to DJ Tony Love for the back from break music mix. Appreciate that. Coming up at 9 a.m. Reverend Sharpton, Sunday morning with Reverend Al Sharpton. He will definitely be updating you on the upcoming Voter Rights March this coming Saturday, August 28th in Washington, D.C. For more information, just log on to nationalactionnetwork.net or you can call 1-877-626-4651. I know I said that. 877-626-4651. Monday through Friday, business hours, okay? Also coming up at about 9:05 on WBLS's Facebook page is Open Line Online, the second hour. Join our panel discussion with our Open Line Online team of Bobby Childs, Jamie Harris, Larry Ham, and Pamela. Also, folks, don't forget our midweek WBLS Facebook page, Open Line Online, every Wednesday night, live from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. And don't forget, at 10 a.m. this morning, Gary Bird with Express Yourself is there. Matter of fact, Jennifer, we're going to turn it to the phones, but I think we have, I mentioned DJ Tony Love. DJs don't like to put their real name out there, so I just keep it as DJ Tony Love. But I'm going to go to line 11. I have DJ Tony Love on the live line. I want to get an update. He is in, line 10, excuse me. He is in Bayshore, Long Island. That's the eastern end of Long Island. We get a weather update out there where tropical storm Henri is supposed to make landfall a little later this morning or early afternoon. Good morning, DJ Tony Love. How are you, my brother?
What's going on, team? What's going on, Good morning, everybody.
Hey, man, we trying to survive this, my brother. Just trying to survive it. So give me a brief update. What's the weather like out there in Bayshore, Long Island?
Yes, sir. Well, first of all, when I come on BLS, you can always call me. Well, I lived back for the last 10 years. We got the rain right now. We do have some branches breaking, the lighter branches. I haven't mixed up yet. But all the smoke and everything is really wet now. We do not have any wind as we speak. No wind as of yet. And our gas stations are completely wiped out. So if you can get to a gas station yesterday, a lot of people get in the car to get gas, and there's no gas here in Bayshore.
Wow. I tell you, I was coming in last night around 10 o'clock from Springfield Gardens, Queens, and the gas stations were full. I mean, they were really full. So folks out there, before this really starts, if you can get to a gas station and find some gas out, because, and they're saying out there, Tony, that if there's power outages, they may last for 7 to 10 days.
Yes, we received on our phones from our power company, TFENG, and they were telling us already that it's what they anticipate for power outages to allow them up to 7 to 10 days to restore all services. And what that means is restore all services. So throughout that 7 to 10 days, power will be coming on, sporadically. If you can be on the first day, you can be on the 10th day. But that sounds like a hot mess going to happen out here today. But I pray it's like me and my family, or anybody's family. But it sounds like a rough one, man.
Yeah, I tell you, Tony, hunker down, be careful, be safe out there. And folks, I mean, this has been, this has been about 30 years. If you've heard this voice before, you've heard this voice in Madison Square Garden when he was the announcer for the two basketball games that had taken place between the WBLS shortstop and the Kiss Cards. That's right. There were 2 games. BLS won 1 and Kiss won 1. And the management decided to leave it like that, not to play that rubber game. We see who would be right. So they just left it as a one-on-one game. So, and Tony is also the voice of the Brooklyn Nets G League out in Long Island. So there you go. So
thank you, team. Kids up there, I did both games. Ironically, the first time, of course, Kids up there, I was a family member, so I got the game for kids. But the real guys on the second game, I thought I was so good the first game that they voted to keep me for the second game.
There you go. That's what, and it shows that we can be competitive, but we also work together, because that's what it was about. And that's what it was about. Thank you, DJ Tony Love. Appreciate that.
Thank you for having me, brother.
Okay, all right.
I'll keep you guys posted on my text, whatever. I'll keep you posted.
All right, thank you, Tony. I appreciate that. All right, bro. All right, Sister Jennifer, let's go to the phone. So let's start off with the phone.
All right, and let me quickly give a shout out to Mr. Austin. People may be wondering where he was when we were essentially trying to get water out the house. He was in the air. He wasn't in the bed speaker. He was in the air, flying back on a red eye from California. So please get that in there so we can have a good day here at the house. Let's go to the phone. Let's go to line 2 to Edna from New Jersey. Good morning, Edna. Yes, good morning. I'm a first-time caller.
Okay. And I left my bell in the other room. I apologize.
That's all right. I was ding ding. My question is, Bill de Blasio excluded non-vaccinated people from summer jam. Police officers covered the event and make maintenance workers clean up. Tax dollars were used to pay for their services. If tax dollars were used, how could the mayor exclude non-vaccinated people from the event? My second point was, the United States, we have the freedom to make choices. Why employers and everyone else are forcing people to take the vaccine, even threatening people's jobs, but yet we still see people who took the test are still testing positive? Thank you.
Good question. I appreciate that. Jennifer?
Well, let's just start with the last question first. People still are testing positive because the COVID-19 vaccine was initially dealing with the variant. Now, what they're finding is that there is efficacy, that it is effective against the Delta variant, but, maybe to a lesser degree. And they're also finding that over time, its effectiveness could wane. They're pressuring people to take the vaccine because the more people, what they're finding right now is the people who are becoming infected in large numbers are people who are getting the Delta variant. And we're trying to control against that because the more powerful the variant becomes, then a greater likelihood that it's going to hit all of us even harder. It's just going to keep mutating. That's why we still need to take the vaccine. And as for the Blasio, what he mandates and what he doesn't mandate, I can't really speak to that. I can't say with certainty, other than it's interesting that where he's not mandating it, you've got some powerful use. I'm just going to leave it at that. I don't really know.
I think this, Washington Governor Inslee, he mandated that state workers have to be vaccinated by a certain time or they will lose their job. So I expect to see lawsuits that come out of this here where folks, and then that excludes people who cannot take the vaccine. There's certain people who cannot take the vaccine at the end of the day. But, I've never lived a pandemic. And people do have certain rights, but we also have to be safe. And when you are seeing hospital systems almost failing, where for 23 minutes in the South, in one of the states, you couldn't even get an ambulance. And then if you're having 90 percentile of unvaccinated people filling the ICU, the ventilators, and then other people with strokes and heart attacks can't get in at the end of the day, and that's your choice. People are now talking about, doctors are now talking about, hospitals are now talking about lowering the priority on unvaccinated people that choose not to be vaccinated because they're filling up the hospital. So now this is like a minor civil war within this country between the vaccinated and the unvaccinated. But we cannot, and I'm going to tell you, people are not going to allow our hospital systems to fail if so many people choose not to get vaccinated and they are filling up the hospital. Now, yes, vaccinated people are getting sick, but they're not filling up the hospital because a lot of them are coming down with milder symptoms, or some are older and then being hospitalized, as we mentioned earlier. Reverend Jason Jackson and his wife, Mrs. Jacqueline Jackson, have been hospitalized, but they're older at the end of the day, and they have minor symptoms at the end of the day, and they want it to be precautionary with them at the end of the day. So that's where we'll leave it.
All righty, gotta keep it going. Of course. All right, let's go to line 4 to Philip from Jersey City. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. This is Phil Carrington, Milton, and English from Jersey City. Phil, am I on here? Oh, thank you. I want to give a few facts and ask a question to follow up the previous call quickly. According to the Liz Black commercial with Brother Hugo, one of the vaccine makers
Johnson & Johnson, those products, talcum products, as known to kill many black people. That is a fact. The fact that the CDC report as of December 14, 2020 and July the 19th, 2021, the vaccine killed 6,207 people. That is a fact, not a conspiracy. In other words, the 20 people per day are being dead by the vaccine. There's two polls that Coalition showed on July 25th say that they got negative reactions from the vaccine. The nanoparticles in the vaccine, this is a fact, is causing blood clots in black people. Some black people, not all.
Wait. I'm not going to listen. I don't have a problem you putting out stats, but this is the issue. The blood clot situation, you're true. It's not just black people, it's white people as well. Okay, so let's go. All right, thank you.
I stand corrected. Given those factors, I'm not going to pick any further. Given those factors, what right, morally, ethically, or anyway that Mary Gadsby or whoever else has the right to compel any person who feels that they will be ill or to die from this vaccine. What right do they have to compel black people or anybody to take the vaccine? Who doesn't want to take the vaccine? Given those factors, it's killing people back.
Daniel returns the car.
All right, thank you for your call. Jennifer, I'll be honest with you. We have to run from that, and we dealt more of that on the open line online with doctors. And one of the things that doctors do say, and one of the things I posed this question to Dr. Stella Sappho this past Wednesday night. The reason why, and I'm not diverting, I'm going to get back to Philip's question, is that the CDC and the FDA recommended booster shots here in America because of the information coming out of Israel. And the information that I got out of Israel that I presented to Dr. Sappho, who said it was correct, that 60% of those that were vaccinated in Israel were hospitalized with COVID. That is because of the Delta variant at the end of the day. But to go back to Philip's question, yes, there have been people that have taken the Johnson & Johnson vaccine that have gotten blood clots. The CDC did address that. I don't want to play it down. I think anyone that has any type of adverse effect or a prolonged effect from a vaccine, they are looking at the large numbers compared to the small numbers of people that have been affected by this. To me, anybody affected, they need to deal with this, and they need to go public with this information so people can feel that they have transparency, and then they can make their choices. That's why when employers start to mandate people to take the vaccine or lose their job, that's when the legalities come in. I'm not a lawyer, so at the end of the day, people have their rights. And if you don't want to take the vaccine and you are being threatened, then you have to get a lawyer and you have to fight it.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think that I completely agree with you. The other thing that I'll add is that here in America, we've had mandates for many vaccines. And it's going to be hard to, to push up against that. And we've had vaccines that people have died from. It's sad, it's tragic, but it is something that happens. There are people who have experienced vaccinations through the years that have been FDA approved and they suffered complications for it. That is nothing new. And I think that what they keep centering on is the disproportionality. There are hundreds of thousands of more people who are dying from COVID having not taken the vaccine. Just look at what's happening in the hospitals today with the Delta variant. So, we'll see what ultimately results, whether or not we get a mandate or not, but we've already got them in place for many other vaccines once they've proven effective, even when people have died from them. Tragic as it is, that it's just the reality. And sure that you have less people dying rather than more. These are some of the choices that are made. by the powers that be. That's why you got vaccines to go to school. Let's go to line 7, Cliff from Connecticut. Good morning, Cliff.
Hey, Sister Jennifer, thanks for taking my call. Listen, Brother King started the show reading the book of Revelation, so I just want to add that as well in terms of the key scripture, Revelation 13:16. It calls us both small and great, both rich and poor, both slave and free, to receive the mark on the right hand or on the forehead. 17. So that no one can buy, sell, or unless the mark in the name of the beast or its number or its name. So what does that look like? And I'll end with that. Describe that mark.
Oh, can't see around Daniel.
Jennifer, it's interesting. Somebody mentioned that, about, you see that here in New York City, I think New York City was the first place to mandate that to go into indoor, you have to prove that you get that, that you have been vaccinated. And some people, again, I don't know how true this is, and I don't like to spread anything that I don't have any facts on. But, some people are saying that we may come down to that, where there may be something inserted under your skin to prove that you've been vaccinated or whatever. So that's why you have some religious people who are saying, I'm not taking a vaccine, I'm not doing this, and not doing that. Again, separation of state and religion at the end of the day. So,
and I just that they say that, I've never heard of the mark of the beast, like as the Bible speaks to it, as he is relating to a medical procedure, or either kind of like it being physical, anything like that. And so, I'm just so anxious. We've got to be very careful. We often are interpreting scripture, all of us, for our hermeneutics, to fit our purposes. But the mark of the beast is really about, at least as I understand hermeneutics, loyalty and devotion. Unrighteous, if you will, loyalty and devotion. I don't know if it's really like in the form of a vaccine.
Right. All right, let's go. I'm going to try to go express real quick. Let's go to line 1. Jeffrey calling us from White Plains this morning. Good morning, Jeffrey. Welcome to Open Line.
Good morning. First time caller. I just got a question. What would be the problem with the gun problems that we're having with the no excuse gun law? The next 6 months to a year, you said the sheriff, the military, anybody caught with an illegal gun, anybody, that's your son. You got 15 years, period. No rules from the lawyers can help you. This kid never had a bad grade, nothing. And I want to know, why would that be such a problem?
All right, thank you for your call. At the end of the day, Jennifer, it's amazing that we have these tough gun laws, like in New York City, and, in a lot of municipalities, there's tough gun laws. And it's amazing that it ties the hands of good folks that want to legally go out there and have the right to bear arms, but the criminals, these tough gun laws still don't seem to be stopping so many people that are, these guns are trickling down. There's so many guns out there, especially in America, at the end of the day. But I can't sit here and say tougher gun laws might not make a difference. We need to do what needs to be done. We just cannot weaponize a community. We can't just weaponize the Black community because guns kill everywhere. So at the end of the day, if we're going to deal with the gun laws like that, then we need to deal with it across the board. I just want to try to get a couple more calls in here. Let's go to line 3 and speak with Michael from the bar. Good morning, Michael. Welcome to Open Line.
Good morning, Christine. Good morning, Jennifer. First off, I may give a birthday shout out to my lovely wife of 21 years, Michelle. She's in the milestone, and we did 21 years of marriage next month. So I just want to take care of that first. When you were speaking about all these things that are piling up, all these various issues, and then of course she spoke on the map and the vaccination. Republicans, and I'm really hitting on Greg Abbott, Governor of Texas, and Florida Governor DeSantis. You Republicans were always dictating to us Democrats, liberals, about personal
responsibility. And he's saying that you got to sacrifice some of your freedom, sacrifice being that, especially after 9/11. So now here it is that it's hitting you guys where we are in a basic pandemic, and then those two doesn't stop the audacity to say they're not going to mandate mass or vaccination, but they're going to block any authorities from or the implementing or mandating things to say no mask, no vaccination, and then look how they having the uprising of cases. Now you need to focus on that in New York City. Come on, people, get it together. You ride the MTA subways and buses. Masks are required. It clearly says that on the bus bulletins as well as in the subways. When you board the New York City ferry, they're saying masks are required. So you don't want to get masked up. You don't want to vaccinate. You cannot go into these restaurants or indoor events. If you want to eat out, you're going to have to find a restaurant that has the outdoor dining. It's simple as that. You cannot jeopardize the health and safety of others inside, employees and other customers. Why is that so hard to understand?
Like, you're right on the head, Michael, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I apologize to the rest of the listeners that are holding, but every time I take that extra call and tell them you got 30 seconds, they try to go a minute and a half, so I'm not going to take that extra call. And as of now, Summer Jam is on for this evening. Doors open at 5 p.m. and first act is expected to hit the stage at 6:30 p.m. But travel with caution. Let me thank our open line production team, our producer Nolly Vaughn, associate producer Robin Williams, production assistant Juliana Nozell, and us Zion Jordan, and tech producers our good brother Rick. And folks, remember, one of the greatest truths in life is living life without a purpose. Without a purpose, life has no meaning, no significance, no hope. And I'm looking at Rick. Here's my music. It's activity without direction, events without reasons, just living pointless. And most of all, life becomes motion without any true meaning and direction. So live your life to the fullest, a life of purpose and meaning. Again, folks, be careful out there today. And if you don't have to leave the house, do not. Okay? All right? Open Line will be back next Sunday, same time, same place. Up next, Sunday morning with the Reverend Al Shelton. Take care. God bless.